What's going on YouTube? Today I made some mistakes. I had two losses back to back on AMD and then one winning trade on SPY, which absolutely saved the day. But I want to make this video talking about the two losses back to back on AMD, how they were mistakes, kind of what was my thought process leading up to those trades, why I took them, and then why I cut them where I did. Because there were also some highlights to be made about those mistakes as well, some positive to take away from it. So straight off of the watch list today, we had AMD as a long idea above 114.5. Now, this was a side chart item today. We were only looking for top side continuation, so I only set a long trigger. So 114.5 is going to be right here. We're on the 5-minute time frame for AMD. We'll back that up. So you can see why I set the long trigger at 114.5, right? If I'm looking for higher highs, I obviously want to see a break above yesterday's high of day. So I set an alert at 114.5, and we get an opening green candle that holds the previous day's close as a point of support, and then the very next candle that runs up well above 114.5 and continues up to 115 plus, and then starts to pull back. So here's where the mistake was kind of made. When you have a run that is this large, right? When you have a run that is this big, typically the pullback is also going to be big. So to go long on a pullback to 114.5, which is what I did, I think was the first mistake because the run was so large, the pullback needed to be greater. Also, if we look at the intraday resistance area, which is right down here at 114, and then back this up on the 5-minute time frame and look at yesterday's resistance area, which was all throughout here at 114, we see that 114 was actually the stronger level of resistance because it's been hit more times than 114.5. So 114 was actually the level to really pay attention to here as opposed to 114.5, which is where I took my entries at. So if we look into the alert room, let's break down these trades, right? If we look into the alert room, put AMD on radar, AMD loaded. Then I said this, my favorite pick here is AMD long on a retest of 114. Now I put this out at 9:41 a.m. So let's timestamp it. 9:41 a.m. on the run up here. I'm telling you, I'm liking it on a pullback to 114, which is down here, right? Closer to 114. Or basically off of this high of day, previous high of day resistance area, pull back to 114 area. And for whatever reason, I decided to say, you know what, trigger level is holding. I think because it pressed higher. So after 9:41, it pressed higher. And I was thinking, I don't want to miss this trade. So I got a little bit of FOMO, right? And so when it pulled back to retest 114.5, I went ahead and took my entry long, and all of this is time stamped in the alert room. Went ahead and took my entry long at a dip of 114.5, and then I was looking for this to curl back up and hit the high of day, which it never did. So instead of it hitting high of day, it dropped below the 114.5 level, which is our trigger, right? So the moment that this trade breaks down from this consolidation on this arrow right here, I close it out. That's what these yellow arrows denote. So I'm closing the trade out there. And instead of closing it, what I should have been doing this entire time, instead of even taking the entry, was staying patient, because where I closed the trade is where I should have been entering the trade, and I could have caught this bounce back up, and it probably would have been 15 to 20%. I mean, these AMD contracts move pretty quick, right? So I closed it out for a 10% loss right here just to watch it totally reverse, and then I'm thinking, oh, you know what? Maybe it does still have potential to go. It's breaking this downtrend trend line on this candle right here. Let me go long on AMD again, because there's no problem with closing a trade out if it's not working and then re-entering, right? So I re-enter on this candle as it's pressing up, breaking the downtrend trend line. I'm thinking we're going to get a high of day move out of it, and we don't. It curls right back over and basically does the same thing what it did earlier, which is break down from the consolidation, right? Here's your consolidation, break down, I'm closing the trade. Then here is your consolidation, it breaks down here, and I'm closing the trade. So I actually wound up taking about a 4% loss on this one. It wasn't nearly as much, it wasn't the 10%, which 10% is totally manageable. But I want to point this out. It's not necessarily the losses or the amount of percentage loss here that's the bad thing. I mean, you know, the trades just didn't work. We didn't get follow through, whatever. The mistake was that where I purchased the contracts at, I should not have done. I should have stayed patient there, because then where I was closing them is where I should have been buying them, right? And then we could have caught this run up, and this really should have been the one and only entry on AMD long following the opening run up here, because that would have paid. But on the positive side of things, I want you to pay attention to how I'm closing these positions, right? If I'm long and I see the stock is consolidating and I'm looking for a high of day and it breaks down from the consolidation, there's no need for me to continue to hold this anymore. This trade is effectively, at that time, creating lower lows, not higher highs. It's not working. So when we get a breakdown from the consolidation, paper cut loss, 10% cut it, right? Move up, break down from the consolidation, actually took like a 4 or 5% loss here. Paper cut loss, close it out. The trade's not working, get out of it. Because if you don't close it out there, then look what happens, right? If you hold it just literally 2 minutes later, you're taking probably a 15 or 20% loss on this. So it would behoove you to pay attention to your price action when you're inside of a trade. The moment that trade does not work for you anymore, the moment that it goes against the plan that you've set out, if you're looking for high of day and it's creating lower lows, close it. There's nothing wrong with closing it and re-entering on it. All right, so just wanted to point out the positives of where I was closing the trade, but then also, you know, the mistake that I personally made, which was getting a little bit of FOMO here, entering too early and then closing it where I should have been entering it. Thank you for your time. I hope that the video helped you out. Just know, you know, I'm human too, right? I make mistakes. Good job, though, to everybody that stayed in the server today and continued to trade with me, because we did take that 20% on gain, 20% gain on SPY. That did make up for both of these losses here and put a lot of us back green on the day. So congratulations to everybody that stuck around for that. Take care, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in chat. Cheers.